Howdy. I was just checking out the Quake, and at least I found it very interesting. Because I will tell you soon why I think it is interesting, and you can make your own decision or whatever if you found it interesting or not. But anyway, minor earthquake, magnitude 2, 20 kilometers east of Provincia de Mantua, Lombardy, Italy. Depth under the epicenter 6 kilometers. Or 7. So right at the vicinity of the quake, we just see fields. There isn't too much there. But there is that little patch, which I found rather interesting in the beginning. No, it's still very interesting. And this looks like some peatland. A peatland patch, which made me to think that I wonder how much of this area where the river Po, like this big flat area in Italy, northern Italy, which is spreading like all over the place from everything here. That's very flat. It's flat like a pan. So how much of this region has been peatlands once? Maybe some of it got flushed into the sea, but here we have the River Po. We might have expect some floods there soon. Last year it was really dry. At the beginning of the year there has been news about how dry is the River Po, and Venice was also dry. They were showing some boats there on land in the center of Venice, so they were afraid of running out of water. So here's the quake here on the right side, and I noticed this area. And if you watch it at terrain, there you can see that there's something. There's a lake and water bodies, and also some elevated areas. A nature reserve, which are always very interesting. If we zoom out once again, I have to just show you that. This here is the river Tagliamento, and I have mentioned it in my paper, Mountain Water, which is talking about the region of the Alps. And the possibility of many of those, probably not all of them, but many of those mountains where is water pouring out as a spring or source or whatever, they are in a way all volcanoes known as cryptodomes. As a very nice example of a cryptodome which is rather famous in the world is Mount St. Helens in the USA. We have many cryptodomes. Here are a few, just north side of the Alps. So, it sounds like a rather crazy idea to think that every glacier carrying a mountain is a volcano. But Mount St. Helens has the world's fastest growing glacier within its caldera. There are many, many volcanoes which are covered by a glacier. And that's my second paper I wrote, Mountain Water. A new approach to mountain forming and volcanism, glaciers, and the role of water in an electric environment. This is north of the Alps. This was the article which provoked me to think about that whole Alp thing, because I went to school in Switzerland. They were teaching me about the glaciers, about the water, and all that stuff. So, and I was interested into nature, like always. So I have been reading stuff all my life. And some time ago, this article came across or I came across this one, and citate daily. Textbooks and geoscientists may be wrong about how the Alps were formed. I thought, whoa, amazing. Because I learned, for example, about Andrew Hall. This is the scientific paper about what they were thinking and figured out that they don't know. And if you scroll down, we stumble quickly across dragons, the dragon castle. We have those pile dwellings. And it's hard to say. Yeah, I could make a screenshot and make a map, but it seems in the vicinity of the Quake and the lake there are also pile dwellings. And some of them look like this. They are made into a museum. You can go and check it out. I have been there several times, but it's many years ago. And back then, I didn't know what I know now. So, despite the things are the same, but they are different because they can be seen with different eyes. And probably a much more holistic picture. Yeah. You know, if you watch a picture on a wall or a painting, just imagine if you take the frame off. The picture doesn't end. So, get your tools to remove the frame of the picture. But anyway, don't do it in a real museum. You know? Or don't glue yourself to any. Whatever. Anyway, we have Fulgurites or Fulgamites. I'm sorry, I never know which one is which. We have Roman legionnaires built the first large-scale thermal baths in the 2nd century AD. In Switzerland, in Baden, where we have the hottest and most mineral-rich water in whole Switzerland, we have a geothermal potential map, and it seems that here is a band of hotter or more geothermal potential just where we have the Quake. Now we have to scroll still down a little bit, because, for example, this picture, we have the Alps in the middle, and on the left we have this kind of a solar flare, which grounds here and goes through that. And here on the middle, where we have these, this might, let's go a bit further out. Get it? Anyway, I have been talking about lakes also here in the paper. There's just one little small picture. Repetitive patterns, fractality and stuff like that. How important it is to recognize patterns. This picture I've been showing recently many times. But a picture which isn't in this article, and it probably should have been. Yeah, actually, while I was searching for the picture, I figured out that, or I remembered about the white rivers. Because here in my paper, white rivers, one really interesting feature of the Alps are the white rivers. These kinds of white rivers, as I call them, aren't only present in the Alps, they can be found all over the world. The following picture is made with basic Google Earth and footage, free of filters or enhancements. This I have been showing you many times. Udine, Italy, Parma, Italy, Walgau, Germany, Montmort, France, Nalchik, Russia, Mount St. Helens, USA. So, The quake we are looking at, if you take this frame and you just extend this, we are probably somewhere here. So we aren't too far from that location here. And also, I relate it also to Mount St. Helens because it has similar features, which is a volcano. So, it might sound still very crazy to think about the Alpine region in Europe associated with volcanoes. Yeah, in the south we have Italy with many volcanoes. In the north we have Germany with volcanoes and France with volcanoes. So why shouldn't be there any volcanoes in the middle? You know? Yeah, I know it sounds too crazy. But let me show you now the picture I was talking about earlier. Phil Howland made a picture. He has been in Living Rock at Mammoth Hot Springs Yellowstone National Park, USA, which is a volcano. Yellowstone. Petrified Spring, French Alps. That's rather big, you know? And I would say it has some similarities. One is a volcano, the other isn't. Or isn't it? So now I have been checking it out on Google Earth. The approximate. We could actually mark the quake location. No, we don't need to. I think it's somewhere here. Baluti di Ostiglia? Yes. The quake has been here. So, we go upstream. There is this Tartaro Canile Bianco Bro di Levante. This is a human-made, anthropomorphic water body, but here, I don't know if, yeah, Mincio. The river Mincio. So I will try to find something about that river. And as you can see here, you either have to buy it or you have to belong to an institution. And I won't pay for that, and I'm not a part of any institution. So we go with what we have here available for free. And this is also interesting. I don't know exactly what that means. A Federal University of Technology, Agure, or Acure, I don't know, does not subscribe to this content on Science Direct. I don't know. And that's from 2013. Lake evolution and landscape history in the lower Mincio River Valley, unraveling drainage changes in the central Po Plain, North Italy, since the Bronze Age. Abstract. The Etruscan harbor of Forcello in the lower valley of the Mincio River, northern Italy, was active between 540 and 390 BC. Yeah, active? 2,500 years ago? The stratigraphic investigations revealed that the settlement occupied a hill on the shore of a lake. The lake sediments and the paleoecological record supported by radiocarbon ages document the basin origin in the Middle Bronze Age, as well as the development of aquatic and terrestrial vegetation through the Iron Age and the Roman Age, until reclamation in the 17th century. Does this mean this place has been abandoned for some time for some reasons? What are the reasons, and do I understand it correctly? Until the reclamation in the 17th century, so several hundred years you couldn't live there. The pollen record provides new evidence about the forest cover of the Jugland's introduction in the Central Po Plain in the early Iron Age. The lake expanded during the early Iron Age after the diversion of the Po River at Guastalla, increasing bedload, discharge, and sedimentation rates in the Po River system dammed the confluence with the Mincio River, starting the development of the lake. Bronze Age human pressure on the forest may also have contributed to this bedload increase. Subsidence related to local tectonics in the actual portion of the river network and the rising base level of the Po plain fluvial system induced by increasing sea level are the triggering factors of these drainage changes in the Central Po plain. Okay. So they think people, probably because they were taking wool from somewhere and the rain just drained everything and there was so much sediment going down there, and over time it just dammed the lake. And probably also climate change, you know. Introduction. The lakes surrounding the town of Mantua represent a unique example of freshwater limnic evolution in the plain of the Po River, the largest alluvial plain of Italy. Freshwater limnic evolution. Going to Wikipedia, limnic eruption. A limnic eruption, also known as a lake overturn, is a very rare type of natural disaster in which dissolved carbon dioxide suddenly erupts from deep lake waters, forming a gas cloud capable of suffocating wildlife, livestock, and humans. A limnic eruption may also cause tsunami or seiche, as the rising CO2 displaces water. Scientists believe earthquakes, volcanic activity, and other explosive events can serve as triggers for limnic eruptions. Lakes in which such activity occurs are referred to as limnically active lakes or exploding lakes. Some features of limnically active lakes include CO2-saturated incoming water, a cool lake bottom indicating an absence of direct volcanic interaction with lake waters, an upper and lower thermal layer with differing CO2 saturations, proximity to areas with volcanic activity. Investigations of the Lake Monoun and Lake Nyos casualties led scientists to classify limnic eruption as a distinct type of disaster event, even though they can be indirectly linked to volcanic eruptions. Yes, like I have been trying to explain in my mountain water paper, that cryptodomes, which is a type of a volcano, they are erupting mainly by erupting water. In other words, water wells, streams, lakes on top of mountains. They are fed from below, I think many of those, if not most of them. If the climate is suitable and it's cold, the water which is pouring out on top of a mountain will freeze over and form a glacier. So we know that under many glaciers there is this one channel where it's basically almost water flowing. You know? It might be a little bit warmer than the rest of it because it's coming from the ground. It might be really volcanic in nature because it's a circuitry. There is so much more water on Earth and in Earth than many think. So why not think about water as something, an eruptive material other than lava? And this water doesn't need to be hot, it can be rather cold, but there might be minerals and metals and all this kind of stuff. Calcium, potassium, anyway. If we go now here to Google Earth once again. Lago Superiore. Isola dei Fiori di Loto. I have no idea. I'm not really speaking Italian. I'm just pretending to. As I do pretend to speak English. Or whatever any else languages I speak. This is the lake, and there are these massive lake flowers. They are somehow rather special. On this island, which has very interesting patterns. Not only does it have interesting patterns, but just the fact that we have these are man-made. I'm quite sure that's not natural. If we have something like this here, they were probably digging through that. I don't know. But anyway, there is this feature here in that lake, Lago Superiore. I'm not really sure if they are talking about this Lago Superiore, but this is a part of that river we are reading about. For example, this pond here, it has a different color than the river. There might be very much gypsum and calcium. So we probably could think that this could be something like the petrified spring we just saw, you know. So it's active. Maybe, probably. But let's go back to the paper because there's still stuff to read. Maybe not too much anymore because, again, that's a very long video. But here they are talking about also about the reclamation, which I think is very interesting. For the cello. I wanted to show you still one very interesting thing, but I don't know. We have to probably find it by reading. Oh, reclamation of the 17th century. These hydraulic arrangements modified the previous natural lake supposed to extend downstream to the confluence with the Po River. Before the Middle Age river arrangement, one of the most important Etruscan outposts in northern Italy was settled on a hill emerging from the Mincio Valley. A hill. Cryptodome. There's probably water on that hill, but anyway. According to the archaeological evidence, the Forgello settlement acted as a fluvial harbor, connecting trades between the eastern Mediterranean basin and continental Europe. The harbor was founded in 540 BC and abandoned suddenly about 390 BC. Mention of an ancient pond along the lower valley of the Mincio River close to Mantua is given in the 3rd century BC by the classical author Livio, and in the 1st century by Servio. A sudden abandon, because there's probably has been an eruption taking place. If there is the possibility that all of a sudden there's emerging CO2, there can be probably also come out a whole lot of water and sediments and stuff, if it's a volcano. Despite these clues, the existence of an early lake basin before the Middle Ages is still unsupported by stratigraphic evidence. Yeah, maybe it got formed back then because there hasn't been anything like this before that. The lack of chronostratigraphic framework for the development of the Mantua lakes prevented previous authors from envisaging consistent relationships between timing of lake evolution, river network changes, and human settlements. Mantua Lake. Is this the Mantua Lake? Or is this the Mantua Lake? Here it says, Riserva Naturale Statale Bosco Fontana. And I think Fontana means something like spring. Lago Superiore. Yeah, maybe this, I don't know if that's the exact location what we should look for. Mincio. Grotto. No, Goito. So now let's check quickly where the Mantua lakes are. Lago Superiore. Alright, for me that's good enough. Lago Inferiore. Yeah, we are at the right spot. So, the first question is concerned with the striking change of the Mincio River channel direction westward. The shift in the channel pattern has been related to tectonic activity or even to buried moraines. Like, moraines would be glacial in origin, but if you think there could be this kind of mud volcano kind of thing, there would be sediments. There would be moraines. Just volcanic in nature. Because this whole plain is very low in altitude. Section snippets. A drilling transect was conducted across the hill hosting the Etruscan settlement and the Mincio Valley floor. On top of the Forgello Hill, the Etruscan archaeological layers, 1 to 2.2 meters thick, rest over a reddish soil formed after clay accumulation into weathered alluvial gravelly sands, the latter forming the hill itself. This pathogenic feature resembles the alphisols development of the fluvioglacial fans, building the plain main level. Reddish soil. Yeah. So anyway, that whole thing is lower where we have the lakes. We could also think of it as a caldera. And in order to end this with a little thing to think about for probably some who are watching, and I say it at the end because I don't want to scare people off, but maybe those reddish soils are sediments with an origin called planet Mars. It could be very well possible. But anyway, I will put links below. You can do your own research, make your own thoughts about it. And yeah, thanks. Bye.